The diplomatic station floated in silence above the blue curve of an unnamed world. From the outside, it looked calm and peaceful, a place where wars were supposed to end with words instead of weapons. Inside, however, every corridor was watched, every breath measured, and every visitor judged. The alien diplomat moved through the central hall with slow, graceful steps. She belonged to a species known for discipline and control. Her people believed emotion was a weakness and protocol was law. She had memorized thousands of rules since childhood and she followed them without question. To her, duty was not a choice. It was life itself. Around her, representatives of many species gathered. Some were tall and armored, others small and delicate. Each one carried the weight of their worlds on their shoulders. Cameras floated in the air, recording every movement for the Galactic Council. Behind her walked a single human. He was not impressive by alien standards. He was shorter than most, with no natural armor, no glowing eyes, no visible weapons beyond a simple sidearm. His uniform was plain. His rank was low. To many aliens, he looked fragile, almost out of place in such an important setting. But he walked with quiet focus. His name was Elias Carter, though almost no one here bothered to remember it. To the Council, he was just the human guard. Humans were new to this level of diplomacy. Their species was known more for stubborn survival than elegance. They were tolerated, not respected. Elias kept his eyes moving, scanning faces, hands, corners. He did not look at the cameras. He did not admire the hall. His attention stayed on the diplomat he was sworn to protect. She noticed this, even if she never turned her head. According to protocol, a guard should remain invisible, silent, replaceable. Elias was all of that, yet somehow different. He walked slightly closer than regulations allowed. Not enough to be obvious, but enough that if danger came, he would be first to meet it. She did not comment. Protocol did not forbid this. Still, she found it unusual. The meeting began. Speeches were exchanged. Promises were made. Old conflicts were discussed with careful words. The diplomat spoke clearly, her voice calm and controlled. She represented stability. Peace, balance. Elias stood behind her, hands relaxed but ready. Then something changed. It was small at first, a sound that did not belong, a sharp crack almost lost among the voices and machines. Elias felt it before he understood it. Instinct took over. He moved. The energy blast tore through the air where the diplomat's chest had been a moment earlier. Elias stepped into its path without thinking. The force hit him hard, throwing him backward. Pain exploded through his side, hot and overwhelming. The hall erupted into chaos. Shouts echoed. Guards from other species raised weapons. Shields activated too late. The diplomat stumbled, stunned, as warm human blood splashed across the floor near her feet. Elias hit the ground, breath knocked from his lungs. His vision blurred, but he forced his eyes open. He was bleeding badly, he knew that. Humans were fragile compared to many species, and that blast should have dropped him instantly. But the diplomat was still standing. That was all that mattered. He pushed himself up. Every movement sent pain through his body, but he ignored it. Training and will carried him forward. He reached her side, one arm wrapping around her, pulling her away from the open hall. Another blast hit nearby, scorching the floor. "Move," he said, his voice rough but steady. She stared at him, shock flickering across her controlled expression. Guards were not supposed to speak unless ordered. Guards were not supposed to bleed. Guards were not supposed to touch diplomats. Yet here he was, bleeding, standing, protecting. He dragged her toward a side corridor as security forces finally reacted. Alarms screamed. Energy fire flashed. Elias took another hit, smaller this time, but it nearly dropped him. Still, he did not let go. They reached the corridor. Heavy doors slammed shut behind them. Elias leaned against the wall, his legs shaking. Blood soaked through his uniform. His breathing grew uneven. Only then did he fall. The diplomat caught him before he hit the floor. Her hands trembled slightly as she lowered him down. She stared at the wound, at the blood pooling beneath him. "This is unacceptable," she said softly, though not to him. Medical teams rushed in moments later. They moved fast, but even they seemed uncertain. Humans were not common patients here. Their biology was strange, adaptable, but poorly understood by most alien doctors. "He's alive," one medic said, surprised. "Severe injury, significant blood loss, but still conscious moments ago." The diplomat watched as they lifted Elias onto a stretcher. His face was pale, eyes half closed, but there was no fear in his expression. Only focus, fading slowly into darkness. As they wheeled him away, she felt something unfamiliar tighten in her chest. Concern. Later, in a secure chamber far from the public halls, the diplomat stood alone. Reports scrolled across her display. The attack had been precise, planned. Someone had wanted her dead, yet she was alive. Because a human stepped in front of death, protocol demanded she move on. The council demanded answers. Her people expected composure. But her thoughts kept returning to the image of a bleeding human bodyguard forcing himself to stand again and again. Hours passed. Against every rule she had ever followed, she requested an update on his condition. The response came quickly. He should not have survived, the medical officer admitted. Another species would not have. Humans they endure. He is stable, unconscious but alive. Alive. The word echoed in her mind. She dismissed the report and stood in silence, staring at the distant stars through the station window. Somewhere in the medical wing, a human who owed her nothing had nearly died for her without hesitation. For the first time in her long diplomatic career, she questioned protocol. Not aloud, not yet, but something had shifted, and the galaxy would feel it soon. The medical wing of the station was quieter than the rest of the structure, but it was not peaceful. Machines hummed softly. Lights pulsed in steady rhythms. The air smelled clean and sharp, filtered again and again to meet the needs of many species. Elias Carter lay on a narrow bed, surrounded by unfamiliar equipment. Tubes carried fluids into his veins. A soft field of energy stabilized the damaged tissue in his side. His breathing was slow but steady. He did not dream. His body was too busy repairing itself. Outside the room, two alien medical officers studied a transparent display filled with data. "This makes no sense," one said. "The injury should have caused organ failure." "Human biology is inefficient but persistent," the other replied. "Redundant systems, pain tolerance far beyond expectation." He refused to collapse. They exchanged uneasy looks. Humans were still an unknown variable to much of the galaxy. Down the corridor, the alien diplomat stood still, her hands folded behind her back. She had dismissed her aides. She had delayed meetings. Officially, she was reviewing security reports. In truth, she was waiting. According to protocol, she should not be here. A diplomat of her status did not visit injured guards. That was what reports were for: delegation, distance. Yet her feet had carried her here without conscious decision. A door opened as a medical officer noticed her presence. He hesitated, then bowed slightly. "He is stable," the medic said. "Recovery will take time." She nodded. "May I see him?" The medic paused. "That is unusual." "So was today," she replied calmly. After a moment, the medic stepped aside. She entered the room slowly. Elias looked smaller lying there, drained of color, wrapped in fabric and light. Without his armor and uniform, he seemed almost fragile. She studied his face, the lines of strain still present even in unconsciousness. This was the being who had stepped into the path of a weapon meant for her. She felt a strange discomfort, not fear, not guilt, something closer to responsibility. She stood there longer than she realized. When she finally turned to leave, Elias stirred. His fingers twitched. His eyes opened slightly, unfocused. He saw movement and tried to sit up. "Don't," she said instinctively. Her voice stopped him. His eyes focused slowly, recognition dawning. "You're safe," he murmured. His voice was dry and weak. "Yes," she said, "because of you." He seemed to accept this without pride. He relaxed back into the bed, eyes closing again. "Just doing my job," he whispered. Then he slipped back into sleep. She left the room in silence. News of the incident spread quickly through the station and beyond. Some praised the human's bravery, others criticized it as reckless. Among the council members, opinions divided sharply. Humans are too emotional, one delegate argued. They act without calculating outcomes. They act with loyalty, another replied. That has value. Behind closed doors, darker discussions took place. The investigation into the attack revealed troubling signs. Security codes had been bypassed. Schedules had been leaked. Someone within the alliance had helped the assassin. Trust, the foundation of diplomacy, began to crack. The diplomat listened as reports came in. Her expression remained calm, but her thoughts were sharp and focused. She reviewed data late into the cycle, comparing patterns, movements, access points. One name appeared again and again. Not Elia's, another official, a respected one. A voice that had spoken loudly about maintaining proper hierarchy in the council. She said nothing. Not yet. Instead, she made a decision that surprised even herself. She ordered that Elias Carter remain assigned as her personal bodyguard once he recovered. Her aides protested. "It is not appropriate," one said. "He is human, injured, politically insignificant." "He is loyal," she replied, "and proven. That is not the same thing. It is to me." Protocol allowed her final authority in matters of personal security. Reluctantly, the order was accepted. When Elias woke again, the pain was worse than before. His body screamed at him, but he welcomed the sensation. Pain meant he was alive. A nurse noticed his eyes open and moved quickly to his side. "Easy," she said. "You've been through a lot." "How long?" he asked. "2 cycles," she replied. "You're lucky." He almost laughed. It hurt too much. "She's okay?" he asked. The nurse nodded. "Very much so." Relief washed over him, stronger than any medication. Days passed. Elias healed slowly. Human recovery impressed the medical staff. He pushed himself carefully, following instructions, though impatience burned beneath his calm exterior. He was a guard. Lying still felt wrong. When he was finally cleared to walk short distances, the first place he was escorted was not a training room or briefing hall. It was her office. She stood as he entered, her posture formal but her eyes attentive. He stopped a respectful distance away and straightened as best he could. "Diplomat," he said. "Elias Carter," she replied, using his name for the first time. It caught him off guard. "Yes, ma'am. I have reviewed the incident," she said. "Your actions prevented my death." He nodded. "That was the objective." "Your objective," she corrected, "went beyond your orders." He hesitated, then spoke honestly. "Orders don't matter if you're dead." Silence followed. Then unexpectedly she inclined her head slightly, a gesture of acknowledgement rarely given. "I have reassigned you," she said. "You will remain my bodyguard." His eyes widened briefly. "I'm honored. Do not mistake this for sentiment," she added. "I require someone I can trust." He met her gaze. "You have that." From that moment their working relationship changed. She began to ask questions about humans, about their training, about why they formed bonds so quickly, so deeply. He answered simply. Humans protected what they cared about, sometimes even what they barely knew. As security tightened, tensions rose. Another attempt came days later, smaller but telling. A security door failed to seal. A drone entered restricted airspace. Elias reacted before alarms finished sounding. He moved fast, pain forgotten, disabling the drone and tracing its signal. It led exactly where he suspected. The diplomat authorized a quiet investigation, trusting his instincts over standard procedure. They uncovered evidence of betrayal. The respected official had been feeding information to extremist groups, hoping to destabilize the alliance for personal gain. When confronted, the official denied everything, until Elias presented the data. The council chamber fell silent. Arrests were made. Charges followed. The diplomat watched as order was restored, her trust in rigid protocol shaken but not broken. She looked at Elias, standing quietly at her side, blood once spilled, scars forming beneath his uniform. For the first time, she understood something her people had long ignored. Strength was not only measured in control or power. Sometimes, it was measured in the willingness to stand in front of danger and say, without hesitation, "Not today." And humanity had just shown the galaxy what that truly meant. The council chamber was full again, but the feeling inside it was different now. Where once there had been calm confidence, there was tension. Trust had been damaged, and every delegate knew it. Screens displayed evidence, timelines, and records of secret communications. The truth could no longer be denied. The traitor stood at the center of the chamber, surrounded by guards from multiple species. His voice trembled as he spoke, his earlier pride gone. "I did it for balance," he claimed. "Humans are unpredictable, they disrupt order." The alien diplomat listened without emotion. When he finished, she rose slowly from her seat. The room fell silent at once. "You did not act for balance," she said. "You acted for control. And in doing so, you endangered every world represented here." Her gaze moved across the chamber. "This alliance survived today not because of fleets or weapons," she continued. "It survived because one individual chose loyalty over fear." Her eyes stopped on Elias. He stood behind her as always, posture straight, face calm. He did not seek attention. He never did. "The session is concluded," she said. Guards escorted the traitor away. Conversations erupted the moment the doors closed behind him. Whispers spread quickly, crossing species and alliances. Humans. The word carried new weight now. After the session, the diplomat returned to her private quarters. Elias followed, remaining just inside the doorway as protocol demanded. "You may enter," she said without turning. He hesitated, then stepped fully inside. She stood near the wide viewing window, stars stretching endlessly beyond it. For a moment, neither spoke. "The council will release an official statement," she said at last. "They will acknowledge your role, publicly." "That's not necessary," Elias replied. "I didn't do it for that." "I know," she said quietly. "That is precisely why it matters." She turned to face him. "You nearly died," she said. "Twice." He nodded. "Part of the job." "No," she replied firmly. "Not for most species." She studied him as if seeing him clearly for the first time. Not as a guard, not as a human, but as an individual who had altered the path of history without meaning to. "My people believe attachment weakens judgment," she said. "Yet I find my judgment clearer than ever." He said nothing, sensing the importance of the moment. "I have broken protocol," she continued, "repeatedly, by choice." "If you regret it," he began. "I do not," she said at once. Silence returned, but it was no longer heavy. In the days that followed, news spread across the alliance. Reports detailed the assassination attempt, the internal betrayal, and the human who had stopped it all. Other human diplomats and officers found doors opening that had once been closed. Invitations came. Questions followed. Humans were no longer ignored. Elias returned to duty fully healed, though scars remained beneath his uniform. They ached sometimes, reminders of moments when everything could have ended. He did not mind them. They reminded him why he stood where he did. Security remained tight. Threats did not vanish overnight. During one late cycle, alarms blared again. A small strike team breached a secondary corridor, moving fast and quiet. Elias reacted instantly. He guided the diplomat into a secure route, sealing doors, redirecting guards. A blast tore through the wall behind them, sending him crashing forward. Pain flared sharply, but he forced himself up. The attackers pressed on. He stood his ground. Energy fire struck him, tearing into his side, reopening old wounds. He staggered but did not fall. With controlled movements, he disabled the attackers one by one, his body pushed far beyond safe limits. By the time reinforcements arrived, Elias was on his knees, breathing hard, blood dark against the floor. The diplomat reached him just as he collapsed. Medical teams worked urgently, but this time the injuries were severe. The blast had damaged vital systems. His recovery would be uncertain. As he drifted in and out of consciousness, he felt a familiar presence near him. A hand rested lightly on his arm. "Stay," she said softly. He opened his eyes with effort. "You're safe?" "Yes," she replied, "because you were here." A faint smile crossed his face before darkness took him. He slept longer this time. When Elias finally woke, the light was softer. The machines were quieter. His body felt heavy but stable. The diplomat sat beside his bed. "You broke more rules," he said weakly. "Yes," she admitted. "I seem to be doing that often now." He tried to move, then stopped. "Did we win?" She nodded. "Peace stands because of you." He closed his eyes briefly, then opened them again. "Then it was worth it." She leaned forward slightly. "My people will change," she said. "Slowly, but they will change. They have seen what humanity offers." He looked at her, surprised. "Humanity?" "Yes," she said. "Not just you, but you showed us first." Weeks later, the Galactic Council convened again. This time, the agenda was different. The diplomat stood before them, composed and unyielding. "I propose a new doctrine," she said. "Humans will no longer be classified as minor participants. They will be recognized as essential allies." Murmurs filled the chamber. "They act with loyalty," she continued, "with courage, with a willingness to sacrifice without demand for reward. These qualities strengthen us all." The vote was taken. The doctrine passed. Elias watched from the gallery, still recovering, his movements careful but steady. He did not fully understand the politics, only that something important had shifted. After the session, she found him. "You changed the galaxy," she said. He shook his head. "I just did my job," she smiled slightly. "Sometimes that is enough." As the station drifted through space, carrying fragile peace and new understanding, a human stood beside an alien diplomat, not as a symbol, not as an exception, but as proof. That humanity's greatest strength was not its weapons or ships. It was the choice to stand, to protect, and to bleed if necessary, so that others could live, and the galaxy would never forget it.